Now, have you ever noticed when you're about to make a decision that will change your life? You're about to start that business. You're about to make that relationship. You're about to do something that will get you closer to the version of yourself that you want to become. And then after doing that, you're met with some resistance, or you're met with some disruption. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what that is and the principle behind it. And I promise you, after watching this video, every single time you have that intent to do something, or you make that move to do something, or even if you had the idea to do something and disruption follows or resistance follows, you would know exactly what it means and exactly what to do. Now, the big question: why is it that the moment you decide to do something, the moment you decide to build that business, you get hit with a bill? And that bill, right, would have been the funds, or the payment for that bill would have been the funds that would have been used to start that business. Let's say you make a decision to get closer to God. Then all of a sudden, distraction starts to come. That female or that male that you used to speak to, that you know full well will lead you down a bad path, all of a sudden they message you. Or let's say, you decided, I want to get a good physique. I want to be healthy. And the moment you have that idea, or the moment you start to make moves to do that, the motivation goes. You get injured. Domino's release a new pizza that has your favorite flavors, and you decide to get it. There's always this disruption. There's always a restriction that comes every single time you make a decision to become a person that is closer to the version of yourself you want to become. Now, what I'm here to teach you is that resistance is not a warning. Because a lot of the time, anytime this resistance comes, you think that means actually you're going the wrong direction. Oh, if I wanted to build a business and all of a sudden I get hit with bills, all of a sudden the market looks like it's bad, all of a sudden the people that were meant to help me are disappearing, you would take that as, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not meant to do this. But in actuality, anytime that happens, or anytime you're met with resistance, it is not a warning, but it's actually a signature that you're going the right direction. It's a sign for you that you are actually doing the right thing. And I'm going to explain why. Now, there's something that I call the seed principle. And make sure you write this down. Write the seed principle and underline it, and underneath write this thing down. And this is the seed principle. Disruption follows intention. I repeat, disruption follows intention. Now you're probably thinking, this guy just called this principle the seed principle. What has that got to do with disruption following intention? Let me explain. When you plant a seed into soil, what happens? The seed now breaks apart, and stems and roots start to grow from the seed. So once the roots now start to grow from the seed, what happens is that the roots grow downwards, and then upwards grows the stem that then becomes the plant or the tree. Now, before you can actually see the tree, or before you can actually see the plant, it needs to break through the barrier, which is called the soil. So before the manifestation of a plant, or before the manifestation of a tree, it first needs to break through the soil. Now that soil acts as the disruption. That soil is the resistance. And the seed principle basically means that disruption is what comes before the intention, because the disruption is the soil and the intention is the plant, is the tree. Now, after explaining this, why does it matter in our lives? Why is it important? Any single time, or any intention that you have, any idea that you have, any thought that you have of doing something else, or doing something that gets you closer to the person you want to become, whether it's building a business, whether it's forming a relationship, whether it's getting closer to God, all of these things are seeds. Now, when that seed is planted into the soil, and the soil which reflects our minds, once it's planted, it now breaks apart and it now begins to form root. And upon forming root, it needs to break through the soil so that it can be seen. Because every single intent you have has a fruit. The intention of you wanting to get closer to God has the fruit of you feeling more connected, you having more faith, you being more at peace. The intention of you wanting to build a business has the fruit of you having more stability, you having more money, you having more security. The intention / the seed of you wanting a better physique so that you feel more fit, you feel more healthy, you feel more confident with your physique. But before you can see these fruits, it first goes through a layer of disruption, which is called the soil. And this happens every single time in our life. Now, let me tell you the very interesting thing about the soil and about the seed. The only way you are able to see this, the plant, the tree, or whatever it is that you planted, is only when the soil is strong enough so that it can push through the barrier. It's when the roots are strong enough so it pushes through the barrier of the soil. So in order for you to break that barrier of the soil, the roots have to be wide enough, strong enough, and deep enough before it can shoot through the soil. So when you're asking yourself, man, I've been trying to build this business, I have this idea of building this business, I have this idea of getting closer to God, but you're not seeing any fruits, you're not seeing any manifestation of it. You need to ask yourselves, am I rooted deep enough? Are my roots strong enough? Because the height, the width, the size of a plant, or the ability for the plant to be seen outside of the soil is only dependent on how wide and strong and deep the roots are. If the roots aren't deep, if the roots aren't strong, you will never see the plant. You will never see the manifestation of that seed. So if you're questioning, you're asking yourself, man, why am I not seeing it? Why is this thing being disrupted? Why is my intent to be closer to God being disrupted? Why is my intent to build a business being disrupted? Why is my intent to have a good physique being disrupted? You have to ask yourselves, is my roots deep enough? Is my roots strong enough? Is my roots wide enough? Because you won't be able to break that soil. You won't be able to break that disruption unless you have strong roots. Now, what are the roots? You have to remember, you see, beneath the soil is damp, it's dark, and most importantly, nobody ever sees what happens underneath the soil. It's hidden. When you plant a seed into soil, you're not able to see the roots grow. You don't know what happens underneath the soil. But all of a sudden you see that there's a plant that grows, or there's a little bit of a stem that's poking out of the soil. But so much is happening in the soil that is that people won't be able to see, that you won't be able to see. Now, question, what are the roots? The roots are the things that you do when no one's watching. The roots are those nights where you decide to stay up and work on your business when no one sees. The roots are the times you decided to wake up at 3 a.m. and pray and read the Bible. The roots are when you decided that you were going to go to the gym after having a long day at work. The roots are the things that you do when nobody's watching. The hard stuff. The dark stuff. The stuff that people won't see and you won't get credit for. Because you have to realize what happens in the roots, what happens underneath the soil. There is no recognition. There is no praise. No one sees. But how deep you go in the roots, how strong and fortified you are in that period will determine how much praise, how much recognition, and how big the manifestation of what it is that you are intending to do will be. So rather focus on the roots. Focus on what you do when no one's watching. And I promise you, the manifestation of that thing will be so big that you couldn't even plan it yourself. Now, let's get into some scripture. I'm going to read the book of Mark, one of my favorite scriptures. Probably hear this every video, but this one genuinely is up there. So, this is the book of Mark 4 and verse number 16. And it reads, "And these are they likewise, which are sown in stony ground, who when they have heard the word, immediately received it with gladness, and had no root in themselves, and so endure for a time. After, when afflicted and persecution ariseth for the word's sake, immediately they are offended." So Christ is speaking here, and he's talking about a type of person. And this type of person receives the word or receives the seed with gladness, right? This seed could be a thought of wanting to become great. Or this seed could have been a word that was said to him to inspire him to become somebody. And obviously, that's going to sound great to anybody. If someone comes and tells you, look, bro, you're going to smash it in business. Bro, you've got so much potential with your physique. Man, you seem so deep and rooted. All these things act as a thought that will follow an intention for you to do something. Because there's no way you're going to hear that and just say, oh, maybe some of you will. But what that does is it sparks something within you to now have an intent towards the word that was deposited inside of you. Now, we have this person here who received that word with joy and gladness. He was glad. But because it says he had no root in himself, he endured for a while. What does that mean? Because when that seed was sown into his mind, into his heart, he received with gladness. But because he did not allow for that seed to take root and for those roots to grow and become big and to become strong enough for it to now provide fruit and break that barrier of the soil, as we spoke about, it only endured for a while. Nothing came from it. He was told that he's going to build a big business. Nothing happened. He was told that he had the potential to have a great physique. Nothing happened. Why? Because he didn't go to that dark place that we spoke about. That place that nobody sees. That place where you don't get recognition. That place where you don't get praise. Those long nights. That decision to go to the gym after work when you're tired. That decision to stay up all night and work on your business. That decision to wake up early and seek God and to read and to pray. Because he didn't take root in that, there was no manifestation. Now let's go to verse 20. And it says, "And these are they which are sown on good ground, such as hear the word and receive it and bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60-fold, some 100. Now we have the person that had the seed sown on good ground. And this is the thing about good ground, right? When the ground is good, it means that the plant is able to grow better. Why is that? Because when a ground is good, it means that the seed is able to grow quicker underneath the soil and stronger, meaning that there isn't much resistance inside within the soil for the roots to grow. And as we've already understood, when the roots grow strong and wide, then the manifestation of the plant is able to break that barrier. So that barrier doesn't become an issue anymore. That resistance isn't a problem because the roots are strong. Let me go to one more scripture. This is the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms 1 and verse, I'll start from verse 1. I'll start from verse 3. And it says, "And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bring forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth, he shall prosper." I pray every single person reading that this shall be the word that governs your life. That you become that person that has their seed planted by the rivers of water. Now, what does it mean to have your seed planted by the rivers of water? Now, anytime you look at a very deserted place or any place in the earth, the trees, the plants, or the vegetation that is grown alongside a river is always the most fruitful. Why is that? Because in plant science, there is a process called osmosis. And in osmosis, what happens is that the plant receives nutrients inside the soil by moisture. So what happens is that when the soil has a lot of moisture, the plant is able to suck that in to provide nutrients for the plant, meaning that it's able to grow more. Now, when you have trees or plants that are planted by or close to rivers, because obviously the river, it has water, the moisture from the river is able to quickly access the plants, meaning that it has more nutrients, meaning that it's able to grow. So when I say that I pray every single one of you becomes the tree that is planted by the rivers of water, I'm praying that every single intention that you guys have, whatever it is you guys desire to do, whether it is to build a business, whether it is to get closer to God, whether it is to have a great physique. I know these are the three things I've spoken about because these are the three things that I have done and I am trying to do even further. But whatever it is for you, I pray that you will position yourself in a place that you'll be able to get all the nutrients so that those things will grow. And that you will realize that the disruption, the soil, won't actually be a disruption, but it will actually be an opportunity for you to realize that actually, if I'm getting disruption, that means the manifestation is coming soon. Because realize, the resistance of the plant only comes when it's about to break out and be seen by everybody. And that's the same thing with you. Anytime you feel that resistance, anytime you feel that pull, anytime you see that disruption, realize that disruption is only a signification that you're about to break out, that you're about to have your breakthrough. And you're literally about to break through the soil that's been holding you back.